Picture this. It's 2026. Gas is sitting at prices that would have made your grandfather faint. Groceries are a luxury, and you're just trying to back out of your driveway to get to a job that barely covers your insurance. You turn the wheel, you roll forward at maybe 5 miles an hour, and then it happens. That sound, that horrifying, ear-splitting metal-on-metal shriek that erupts from your front wheel like a banshee being murdered inside your fender. Every single person in the parking lot turns and stares at you. The mom with the stroller, the old guy walking his dog, the teenager filming TikToks. They all look at your car like it's about to explode. And here's the kicker. Your foot isn't even on the brake pedal. You're just rolling, and the car is screaming. So you do what any normal person does. You drive, terrified, white-knuckled, 20 miles an hour with the hazards on, straight to the nearest dealership, the Stealership. And the service advisor, that beautifully dressed shark in a polo shirt with the company logo embroidered on it, walks out with his little tablet and that fake sympathetic face, and he delivers the verdict. Your brake caliper has seized. It destroyed the rotor, it annihilated the pads down to the backing plate, and the heat fried your wheel bearing assembly. Total corner rebuild. $1,200. Cash, credit, or financing through their 26% APR partner. And you sit there, sweating, because what choice do you have? The dealerships making billions off your acoustic panic want you to think your wheels are about to detach from the chassis. They aren't. It's basic metallurgical friction and a phenomenon called sympathetic resonance. But as always, I'm sharing this for educational and historical observation purposes only, because the lobby that protects the service industry has lawyers, and I have a camera and a garage. So let's tear this scam apart piece by piece, because what I'm about to show you is going to make you furious. 3 seconds of leverage. That's the entire fix. 3 seconds, a flathead screwdriver, and $1,200 saved. And the Japanese masters at Toyota, Honda, Subaru, Mazda, they've known this trick since the 1980s. The Western service industry buried it because they cannot survive on 3-second repairs. Let me explain the actual engineering here, because once you understand the components, you understand the lie. A modern disc brake assembly is one of the most overbuilt, durable systems in your entire vehicle. The brake rotor itself is a slab of cast iron. We are talking about cast iron that weighs between 15 and 25 pounds per rotor. This is the same material they used to make cannons in the 1800s. The same material in old wood stoves that have lasted 150 years sitting outside in the rain. Cast iron does not just give up. It does not just wear out in a week because you hit a bump. The pads, those friction blocks pressed against the rotor by hydraulic pressure, they're made of semi-metallic compounds, ceramics, sintered copper, exotic Kevlar weaves. They are engineered, tested, validated to last between 30,000 and 70,000 miles depending on driving style. The wheel bearing, that sealed unit at the center of the hub, is a precision instrument of hardened chromium steel races and bearings, packed in synthetic grease, sealed against contamination, and rated to spin reliably for 150,000 miles minimum. These are the parts the Stealership wants to replace. Heavy, expensive, forged, hardened, engineered components. They do not just spontaneously combust because you drove through a puddle. But sitting 2 millimeters behind that beautiful cast iron rotor is the cheapest, flimsiest, most insulting piece of metal in your entire car. The brake dust shield, also called the backing plate, the splash guard, the rotor shield. Depending on the manufacturer, it's stamped from sheet aluminum or extremely thin galvanized steel. We're talking about a gauge of metal so thin you can bend it with your fingers. So thin that if you dropped it on the floor, it would make the sound of a cymbal. Its job is simple. Deflect water spray from puddles, deflect gravel kicked up by the tires, and shield the rotor from direct mud impacts. That's it. It is not structural. It is not load-bearing. It does not stop your car. It is a piece of tinfoil with delusions of grandeur. And this paper-thin piece of stamped sheet metal, mounted 2 millimeters away from the spinning 20-pound iron rotor, is the source of the most profitable diagnostic illusion in the modern automotive industry. Hit the like button right now if you've ever paid more than $500 for a brake job that the mechanic insisted was an emergency. And tell me down in the comments exactly what your Stealership quoted you the last time you heard grinding from your wheels and what city you're in, because I want to map this acoustic extortion racket across the country. Subscribe and slam the bell, because the dealership lobby has been flagging this channel for months, and we need every signal we can get to stay visible. Now let's talk about the villain, the seized caliper myth, and how this scam is run line by line at the service counter. The Stealership business model in 2026 is mathematical. It is not based on fixing your car, it is based on labor hour billing and parts markup. The technician in the back, the actual wrench turner, gets paid flat rate per job. The service advisor gets a commission based on the total ticket. The dealership corporate office reports parts gross profit to the regional manager, who reports it to the manufacturer, who reports it to shareholders. Everyone in this chain has a financial incentive to inflate the diagnostic. So when you roll in with a screeching wheel, the protocol is not to listen. The protocol is to maximize the work order. The advisor walks out and uses the words that legally cover them while emotionally destroying you. Safety concern. Metal on metal contact. We cannot release the vehicle in this condition. Those are the trigger phrases. Once those words leave his mouth, you are psychologically locked in. You will sign anything, so they upsell. The seized caliper diagnosis is the cornerstone of the racket because calipers are expensive. A new caliper, even a remanufactured one, is $200 to $400 per side. Add the rotor at $80 to $150, add ceramic pads at $60 to $100. Add the wheel bearing assembly, which on most modern vehicles is a sealed hub unit running $300 to $500 by itself. Then add 3 to 4 hours of flat rate labor at $180 an hour, plus shop supplies, plus environmental disposal fees, plus the alignment they will insist you need because they pulled the knuckle. You are now staring at a $1,200 invoice for a problem that does not exist. The caliper is not seized. If your caliper were genuinely seized, your car would pull violently to one side under braking, your pedal would feel weird, and the rotor on that side would be glowing blue from heat after a single highway trip. None of that is happening to you. Your car drives straight, your pedal feels normal, the only symptom is the noise, and that noise is not coming from the rotor surface. It is coming from the cheapest piece of metal in the entire assembly. The Stealership knows this. The technician knows this. Anyone who has spent 20 years under a car knows this. But admitting it costs them $1,200, so they don't. Let's get into the actual science of why a 2mm bend creates a sound that mimics the apocalypse. This is where Japanese acoustic engineering principles become undeniable proof of the cover-up. When that thin aluminum or galvanized steel shield gets bent inward, even by the width of 2 stacked credit cards, it makes contact with the spinning rotor face. The rotor is rotating at engine wheel speed, which at parking lot pace is around 40 to 60 rotations per minute, and at highway speed approaches 800 to 1,000 rotations per minute. So you have a hardened cast iron surface rotating, dragging across a piece of soft sheet metal that is rigidly bolted to the steering knuckle. This is the textbook definition of a friction excitation source. The contact is intermittent because the shield is not perfectly flat, so it grabs and releases hundreds of times per second. That stick-slip vibration is the source frequency. But here's the part the dealership prays you never learn. Thin sheet metal is a phenomenally efficient acoustic resonator. It is, in essence, a speaker diaphragm. The exact same principle that makes a cymbal in a drum kit project sound across a stadium is what makes your bent brake dust shield project a high-frequency scream across a parking lot. The thin metal vibrates at its natural resonant frequency, amplifies the friction signal, and broadcasts it through the wheel well, which acts like a horn loudspeaker. This is called sympathetic resonance, and it is the same effect that lets a violinist drag a tiny horsehair bow across a thin steel string and project sound across a concert hall. Your bent dust shield is, mechanically speaking, a metallic violin. The rotor is the bow, the shield is the string, the wheel well is the body of the instrument. And it is screaming because 2 millimeters of stamped tin is touching a spinning piece of cast iron. That is the entire problem. There is no caliper failure, there is no bearing failure, there is no pad failure. There is one piece of bent sheet metal that costs the manufacturer less than $2 to stamp out at the factory, and a Stealership that wants $1,200 to make it stop. Now let me walk you through the cheat code. The repair that the master mechanics in Japan have been doing in 3 seconds for 40 years. You do not need to jack the car up, you do not need to remove the wheel, you do not need a single specialty tool. You need one long flathead screwdriver, preferably 8 to 12 inches in length, and you need to be able to identify the source wheel by sound. Park the car on a flat surface, engine off, parking brake on, transmission in park, walk to the wheel that was screaming. Look through the spokes of your alloy wheel and find the rotor, which is the large flat disc visible through the spokes. Behind the rotor, you will see a curved piece of thin metal that follows the contour of the rotor, usually painted black or coated in rust. That is the brake dust shield. Look at the edge of the rotor and the shield. You are looking for the spot where the gap between them has closed. Sometimes the shield is dragging visibly. Sometimes you can see a fresh, shiny rub mark on the rotor face at one specific point. Take your flathead screwdriver, slide it through the wheel spokes, and place the tip against the thin shield, not against the rotor. With slow, controlled pressure, gently lever the shield backward, away from the rotor. You are only moving it 2 to 3 millimeters. You will sometimes feel a slight click as the metal returns to a stable position. Spin the wheel slowly by hand if accessible, or move the car forward 2 feet, and listen. The screaming stops, instantly, permanently. $1,200 saved. 3 seconds of leverage. That is the secret the Stealership prays you never learn. This is what they do not want you to know. The entire premium service economy of 2026, the inflated quotes, the safety concern theater, the financing of routine maintenance over 48 months, all of it depends on you being acoustically and mechanically illiterate. The moment you understand that a brake dust shield costs $2 and a wheel bearing assembly is rated for 150,000 miles, the moment you understand that sympathetic resonance is not a structural failure, the moment you understand that thin metal next to spinning iron is a violin and not a catastrophe, their entire business model collapses. So share this video with every person you know who drives a car. Tell me down in the comments what your dealership tried to charge you. Subscribe and hit that bell, because the next video is on the alternator scam, and I promise you the math behind that one is even worse than this. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never let a man in a polo shirt tell you your car is dying when the truth is a piece of tin bent 2 millimeters.